All right, let's talk about something that trips up pretty much every single iOS developer at some point: frame versus bounds. If you get this right, it feels like you've unlocked a new level in understanding how iOS layouts actually work. But if you get it wrong, oh man, you are in for a world of layout pain. So let's solve this puzzle once and for all. So the big question is, why? Why do we have two different ways to describe a view's geometry? I mean, it seems kind of redundant, right? A rectangle is a rectangle. But it turns out this little duality is the secret sauce behind some of the most powerful and common features we use in iOS every single day. Okay, so here's the key. You have to think about every view as having two separate realities. There's its place in the outside world, where it sits on the screen, and then there's the world it contains inside of itself. You can think of one property as the view's street address, and the other as its own internal floor plan. First up, let's talk about that outside reality. This is all handled by the frame property. And when you think frame, I want you to think about location, location, location. It's the view's public address, where it lives in relation to its parent view. So the frame tells you everything you need to know about the view, but from its parent's point of view. It's like your home address. It tells people how to find you within the larger city. And those X and Y coordinates, they're always measured from the top left corner of the parent view. So this is the question you should always be asking yourself when you're dealing with frame. Where is this thing located inside its parent? It's all about that position and size within a bigger container. So if you're, say, dragging a button around on the screen, what you're really doing is changing its frame. Okay, so we've got the outside world of frame down. Now let's flip the coin and explore the inside world, which is what bounds is all about. And trust me, this is where things get really cool. Now, bounds is completely different. It's totally self-absorbed. It could not care less about its parent view. It describes the view's own private little universe, and its starting point, its origin, is almost always at 0, 0, which is its own top left corner. Think of it as the canvas that the view uses to paint its own world. And this is the question for bounds. See, we're not talking about location anymore. We're talking about the canvas inside the view. Now, usually, the size of the bounds is the same as the size of the frame. But its origin, that's what gives it this incredibly powerful capability, which we're about to see in action. So why does any of this really matter in practice? Well, it's the secret behind something you do 1,000 times a day: scrolling. This is where the whole concept of bounds just clicks into place, and you have that aha moment. Okay, picture a scroll view. Think of it as a fixed window you're looking through. That window is its frame. It doesn't actually move. Now, when you swipe with your finger, you're not moving the window. What you're actually doing is changing the bound's origin. You're basically telling the view, hey, from now on, start drawing your content from this new starting point. And that simple change shifts the internal canvas, creating that perfectly smooth illusion of scrolling. The frame stays put, but the bounds moves, revealing different parts of the content. It's genius, right? So how do we make sure this all sticks? Because, understanding the theory is one thing, but having a really solid mental model is what's going to save you hours of debugging layouts late at night. Let's boil this all down. Here it is, side by side. Frame is the address. It tells you where the view is, and it uses the parent's coordinate system to do it. Bounds, on the other hand, is the floor plan. It shows you what's going on inside the view, using its own coordinate system. Seriously, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. This is your mantra. Frame is where the view is, bounds is what the view sees. Just burn that into your brain, and I promise you, layout problems will start to make so much more sense. And here's your practical cheat sheet. When do you use which? Well, if you're arranging views inside another view, positioning buttons and labels, you're going to be thinking in terms of frame. But the moment you start dealing with scrolling, or you're making a custom view and have to do your own drawing, that's when you are in the world of bounds. So there you have it. That's the core difference. And this isn't just some abstract theory. This is a classic interview question, and it's absolutely fundamental to mastering UI Kit. So, to keep you thinking, I'll leave you with this little puzzle. Since a view's frame depends on its superview, what do you think happens to that frame when you apply a rotation to the view? The answer might just surprise you, and it really highlights everything we've just talked about.